Hello, in this tutorial we will talk about selection control structures. Selection control structure allows a set of statements to be executed if specific condition is met. If it is not met, so another set of instructions are executed. We have those types of selection control structure. We have if condition, we have if else conditions, we have switch. In case we use if selection control, it is performed as follow. Assume that we have a program that consists of set of statements as we see. Those statements can be int x equal 5, can be system.out print something, and so on. As we know, when a program is run, it executes its statements line by line. Let's see in this program sample, we have statement 1. We guarantee that it will be executed. We also guarantee that statement 2 will be executed. But do we guarantee that statement 3 and statement 4 would be executed? That depends on this condition typed between those brackets of the if statement. This condition is a Boolean expression. According to the value of this Boolean expression, the program will specify whether to execute the statements inside this if structure or not. So we guarantee that statement 1 will be executed. We guarantee statement 2 will be executed. And then the program will stop here, and then the program will evaluate whether this condition is true or false. If it is true, it will execute statement 3 and statement 4 and then continue the entire program, statement 5 and statement 6. If it's not true, so the program will skip all this body and then continues executing statement 5 and statement 6. We have also if-else selection control. It has many types and the cases of using it. Look at our case on the left. Now we have statement 1, statement 2, and we guarantee that those statements will be executed. The program then stopped at this line, if, and there is a condition. If this condition is true, so it will execute statement 3, and then the program will find else. Will the program execute the statement or statements inside this else body? The answer is that depends on the condition of if. If this condition is true, so statement 3 and any other statements inside this if body will be executed. Otherwise, if the condition is not met, so the statements inside the else body will be executed. Now our program continues executing statement 5 and statement 6. Let's have a look on our case in this right side. We have statement 1, it's executed, statement 2 is executed, and then now we have to ask in more than one condition. So we type if and then condition, then we type else if, between those brackets we typed another condition. You can also add more than one else if, but finally you may or you not add else body. It's optional, not required. But let's assume that we run this program. Statement 1 will be executed, statement 2 will be executed, and then the program stopped in this line asking about a specific condition. If this condition is met, so statement 3 will be executed, and then statement 4 and statement 5 will not be executed. That's because in case we use if, else if, and so on, so just one condition when met, the only body inside this condition is executed, and then all of those are skipped and continues to execute statement 6. we also have a switch selection control, and is typed as we see. We typed the keyword switch and open brackets. Between those brackets we typed a variable or a value, as we are asking for a value, not asking for a Boolean expression, as in if-else control selections. Inside this switch body we said case value 1, and then we typed statement 1 and then break, case value 2, statement 2, then break, default statement 3. How does this work? The program now is stopping at this line and said case value 1. The program here will evaluate whether this variable or value equals this value or not. If yes, so it starts executing the statements inside this case until what? Until seeing a break statement, and then after this break the program will go out of this switch body. Okay, what if this case doesn't meet this value? So it will go to the second case value 2, and then we'll evaluate whether this variable or value equals to this value or not. As we know, if yes, it will execute all the statements until get a break statement, so it will go out. What if all values beside all cases are not meeting the required values? So the statements after default keyword are executed. Okay, as we see the following program, this program is requesting from the user to insert a number, and according to the value of this number, if it is less than 10, so this sentence should be printed. The sentence is you inserted value less than 10, and then the program continues. So let's run and see. This line is executed. Please insert a number, and now we are stopping in this line. The program is waiting for you to insert a number in this variable num. Okay, let's try to insert 7 for example. Click enter. As we see, the program continues. The inserted number is concatenating the number, so the inserted number is 7. After that, this line is printed. That's because when this expression is evaluated, it returns true, so the statements inside this if is executed. Okay, let's run the program again, and let's make this expression is evaluated by false. Let's run. What shall we insert to make num not less than 10? For sure by inserting 10 or more. Let's insert 12. Click enter. Notice the difference between this trial and the previous trial. This line is not printed in this case. That's because when we evaluated this expression, it returned false, so every instruction inside this if is not executed. Okay, let's see another example. In this example, we will say int x and we will assign it by 5. Let's say that we will type if x equal 5, open curly brackets, and then we will print, let's print anything. Let's print 1, 2, sorry, 3, and else let's print other sentences, 4, 6. Okay, what shall be the output of this program when we run it? Let's see. First, we declare variable x and assigned it by 5. So the program will stop here in this line. In this line, the program will evaluate this expression. Is it true or false? In our case here, it is true. So the program will go inside this body and will perform all instructions inside this body. And then, what about else? For sure statements inside it will not be executed. So 4 and 6 will not be printed if we run this program. Let's run and see. As we see, it when assigned x equals 5, which is true, so it printed this line, then this line, then this line. Okay, let's say x equal any other value, 8. For sure, this body will not be executed, but this body will be executed in this case. Let's run. As we see. Okay, now let's perform the following example. Assume that we want to write a program that prints the grade of a student. This grade is determined according to that student's degree. If he got more than 90, so his grade is A. If he got between 80 and 90, so his grade is B. If he got degree between 70 and 80, so his grade is C. If he got degree less than 70, so his grade is F. Now, how can we will perform this program? Let's do it. Okay, let's first declare int degree semicolon, and then let's type our scanner sc equal new scanner system dot in, and then let's type if degree greater than 90, so it will print A. Oh, it's not compiling. Yes, that's because we haven't initialized variable int degree. So let's say degree equal sc dot next int semicolon. Okay, it compiled successfully, and then we may write if degree is greater than 80 and degree less than or equal 90, so it printed B. We may type another if degree is greater than 70 and degree is less than or equal 80, so that we print C. If less than or equal 70, then we will print F. Less than or equal 70. It will print F. Okay, what will be the output if we run the program and then insert 91, for example? Let's run and see. Okay, let's type 91. As we see, it printed A. Okay, let's run it again and insert 83. As we see, it printed B. That's because this is the only expression that is evaluated to true, so this line is printed and all other lines are not. The same thing when we run and say 75, this line is printed and the others are not. The same thing when we type 55, as we see the grade is F. Okay, let's rewrite the same program by another way. So let's change it by typing else if, and here else if, and here let's remove all that expression and type else. Okay, so the program will evaluate if the degree is more than 9, so this line will be printed and all the other lines will not be printed. The same thing if this expression is true, B will be printed and all other lines are not. If this expression is true, this line will be printed and the others are not. If all of those are not true, so this line will be printed. Let's run and see. 55, printed F, run again. 80, printed C, run again. 99, it printed A. Okay, so what's the difference between this sample and the previous sample? When we run both of them, we didn't feel by the difference, but when we debug, let's see. Okay, let's debug starting from this breakpoint, and now let's debug. Switch, okay. As we see, the program is waiting for us to insert a value. Let's insert, let's say 71, enter, and now let's make step over. This expression now is evaluated. So the program, when evaluate this expression, look, degree is 71, which is not greater than 90, so it skips this line and then goes to the other else if, and asking whether this expression is true or false. If it is true, it will go inside this else if, otherwise it will skip it and go to the other line. Let's click F6 again. Look, as we see, it's true, and then it printed that. After another F6, it went out from all of those conditions. Okay, let's remove this else if, and let's return this again by if degree is less than less than or equal 70, as in the previous sample, and let's debug. Let's type again 71. Let's see. When we type F6, had you noticed the difference? After executing the statements inside this condition and after executing them, it also evaluates again when see another if conditions. But in the previous case, else if, else, so the program treats all of those conditions as a one unit. So if just meets one of those expressions, so it doesn't evaluate any of the remaining expressions. That's the main difference between both of using this sample and the other sample. The question now is, which of those samples is the optimal solution? Think about it and let your answer in the comments. Hello, in this tutorial we will talk about loops. Loop in programming language is a feature which facilitates the execution of a set of instructions repeatedly while some condition evaluates to true. This flowchart illustrates how loop is performed. As we see, we have statement and we want to execute it repeatedly. There is a checking condition, which is a Boolean expression. If this condition evaluates true, so the statement inside the loop is executed. After finishing the statement, so we return back again to evaluate the checking condition. If evaluates true, the statement execution is repeated. It remains repeating until checking condition evaluates false. Benefits of using loops. As we mentioned, Loops enable the developer to execute a statement several times without needing to write this statement more than one time only. That guarantees less redundancy of code and less development time. We have three types of loops. We have while loop, we have do while loop, and we have for loop. While loop is created as follows. We type the keyword while and then open two parentheses. Between those parentheses, we add the checking condition. This checking condition is Boolean expression. Let's trace this program sample to clarify more. Assume that we have statement 1, statement 2, and so on. We guarantee that statement 1 will be executed and then statement 2 will be executed. In this line, the program will evaluate this condition to decide whether to execute those statements or skip them and go to statement 6 and continue to statement 7 and so on. If this condition is false, so those statements will not be executed and they will be skipped to execute statement 6 and statement 7. But if this condition evaluates true, so the program will go inside this while body and then will execute statement 3, statement 4, statement 5, and then will return back again to the beginning of the while loop, and then will evaluate the condition again. If the condition is also true at this time, so it executed again statement 3, statement 4, and statement 5, and return back again. This process is repeated until this condition evaluates false. Do while loop. Do while loop is created as we see. In the beginning of the loop, we type the keyword do and then open curly brackets, and at the end of the second curly bracket we type the keyword while and open parentheses, and between those parentheses we have the checking condition, and then don't forget to type the semicolon after the while condition. But in the normal while loop there is no semicolon next to the while condition. Let's trace the following program sample and see how does the do while loop perform. We guarantee that statement 1 will be executed, statement 2 will be executed, and then the program will go through the do while loop to execute statement 3, then statement 4, then statement 5, and at the end of the loop it will evaluate the condition. And that's the difference between the while loop and the do while loop. In the normal while loop the condition is evaluated on the beginning of the loop, but in do while loop the condition is evaluated at the end of the loop, and that guarantees that the statements inside the do while loop will execute at least one time. It continues repeating those statements until the condition is evaluated to false, and then continues the entire program to execute statement 6 and statement 7 and so on. In case for loop is created as follows. We type the keyword for and then open two parentheses. Between those parentheses we have statement, condition, statement, and those are disjointed by semicolon. The statement before the loop condition is the initiating statement, as this statement is executed only once in the beginning of the loop, and the statement after the for loop condition is the finishing statement, as it is executed at the end of each loop, not only once as the statement before the condition. So let's trace this program sample to clarify this point more. In the starting of this program we guarantee that statement 1 will be executed, then we guarantee statement 2 will be executed, and now let's begin executing our loop. Statement 3 is the initiating condition, so it will be executed, and after executing statement 3, the program will check this condition, which is Boolean expression. If this condition is true, then the program will go inside the loop to execute statement 5, statement 6, and then end the loop. But after executing statement 6, it will execute the finishing statement, which is statement 4. After executing the finishing statement, statement 4, the program will evaluate the condition again. If it is true, so it will repeat executing statement 5, then statement 6, then statement 4, then evaluate the condition again. This process is repeated in this cycle: condition, statement, 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 condition. This cycle is repeated until this condition evaluates false in order to exit this loop, and then continue executing statement 7, statement 8, and so on. Okay, let's perform a practical example using while loop. Assume now that we have to write a program to print a specific sentence, for example 20 times. What will we do? Easily you can type, without using loops, system.out.println my sentence, and then copy it by yourself several times. But this way is not professional, so that we are using loops. So let's type while, then open parentheses, and between the parentheses we have to type a Boolean expression. So let's type, for example, x less than 20, and then open curly brackets. But this program is not compiling. That's because we don't declare x. Let's say int x equals 0, and then semicolon. We will print this sentence, my sentence, and then we increment the value of x as follows: x plus plus. Okay, what will be the output of this program when run it? Let's run and see. As we notice, it printed this my sentence 20 times as required, and that is because this while loop is executed 20 times due to that condition. X first started with value 0, and then in this while loop the program first asks if x is less than 20 or not. Since this Boolean expression evaluates true, so it goes inside the loop and then execute the statement, and then execute the statement which increments the value of x, so the next loop x became 1. After that it will evaluate the condition again to ask if 1 is less than 20. Yes, so this loop is repeated and x became 2. 2 is less than 20. Yes, repeated until x is 19 less than 20. Yes, repeated. And now x became 20. Is 20 less than 20? No, so the loop exits. And if we want to print the value of x, we are sure that it is 20. Let's run. As we see, the value of x is 20 as expected. And now, what do you expect the output to be if we changed this condition to x greater than 20? What do you expect? Run and see. As we see, it printed only the value of x, which is 0, and that's because the program didn't enter into this while loop anyway, because the expression in the while loop from the beginning is false. Okay, let's perform another example. Assume that we have an array x and will be assigned by those values 6, 1, 9, 0, 7, 5, 7, 2, How many are those values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's add another two numbers. 4, 1. And now we want to print the summation of the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th elements of this array. So let's use the while loop, but first let's declare int sum and let's assign it by 0. And then let's open our while loop. Let's type while, and then let's have variable index, but first let's declare it int index equals 5, as we will start from the index number 5 in this array, and we will ask whether index is less than or equal 9. So that we will enter the loop, and then we'll perform this summation, sum plus equals x of index, and then let's perform index plus plus to increment the value of index until reaching to the number 9, and then exit the loop and then print the value of the variable sum. So let's first, before running, let's calculate the summation of the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take care, I am saying the 5th index, not the 5th element. As we know in arrays, the 5th index is the 6th element. So that's the 5th index, and that's the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So their summation are 5 plus 7, 12, plus 2, 14, plus 4, 18, plus 1, 19. So the sum must be 19. Let's run and see. Okay, that's good. So that's our required result. Okay, let's try using do while loop instead of while. So what will we do? We will cut this statement from the beginning of the loop and transfers it into the end of the loop, and then in the beginning we will type do. Let's save. As we see, it's not compiling. Why? That's because we forgot the semicolon. Don't forget it in the do while. And now let's run and see. As we see, we got also the required result using the do while loop. Okay, let's now perform another example, but in this time we will use for loop. Assume that we want to make a program that prints the values between 1 and 10. How will we do it using for loop? Let's see. Let's type for, and then we will open the parentheses, and then between the parentheses we will have initial condition, and let's type it int x equal 1. That's our initial condition, and then after typing the initial condition we typed semicolon, and then we will have to type the checking condition, which will be x less than or equal 10, and then another semicolon. After this semicolon we should type the finishing statement, which will be executed after the end of each loop. I think it should be incrementing the value of x, which is x plus plus, and then inside the loop let's type system.out.print. Let's make it .print, not println, to print them in only one line. So let's type x and then plus to concatenate spaces between them. Let's run and see. As we see, it printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 separated by space, and it didn't forget to print the space after the 10. Okay, let's perform another example that prints values of an array. Let's declare an array, let's say x, and let's assign it by random values 6, 1, 7, 0, 5. We assigned it by 5 values, and then let's start typing our for loop. Let's say 4. Okay, now let's type the initial statement that will be executed in the beginning of the loop, and let's declare an integer variable I, and let's assign it by 0, then type semicolon, and then let's make a condition that will stop at the end of the array. We assume that I will be referring to the index of the array in our loop, so in the first loop I will equal to 0 in order to access the element of index 0, and in the next loop I will be incremented to 1 in order to be able to access the index 1, and so on until reaches to the end of the array, so that this condition will be I less than 5, and then semicolon. And now we need to type the ending statement, which will be executed after the finishing of each loop, which will be incremented the value of I++. That guarantees to exit from this loop. If we didn't do that, so we'll never exit from this loop. So let's print, but in this time will be in separate lines, x of I. Let's run and see. So as we notice, it printed in the first loop x of I when I was 0, so it printed x of 0, which is 6. In the next loop I became 1, so it printed x of 1, which is 1, and so on until printing the entire array. But let's debug the program to notice well how is the for loop is performed. Let's starting from here and then debug as Java application. Yes, and let's switch to the debug perspective in the Eclipse. Now let's perform this line. As we see now, we have declared x with those values 6, 1, 7, 0, 5. Let's open it. X of 0 is 6, x of 1 is 1, x of 2 is 7, x of 3 is 0, x of 4 is 5. And now let's perform our first loop. Now we have int I equals 0. Let's step over this line. The program entered the loop successfully. That's because when evaluating this expression, which is in this loop 0 less than 5, it evaluates true, so we entered inside the loop, and then we will execute this statement which will print x of I, and in this loop as we see I is equal to 0, so it will print x of 0, which is 6. Let's step over this line and see. As we see, it prints 6 and return back again into the beginning of the loop. F6 again. As we see now, x is incremented to 1, and then we enter the loop after evaluating this expression, which is 1 less than 5, true. So we go inside the for loop, then perform this statement which is printing x of 1. As we see, let's press F6, so it printed 1 and returned back again to the loop, the third loop, the fourth loop, and in this case I now is equal to 4, and will print x of 4, which is the last loop. Let's finish it. Okay, we return back again to the beginning of the loop, but in this time when will we press F6, it will exit the loop. That's because when the program evaluates this expression, which was in this case 5 less than 5, it evaluates false, so it exits the loop. Okay, in this tutorial we talked about loops. We learned how to perform while loops, do while loops, and for loops. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.